Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided Thee right, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family, peace and blessings. Welcome to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. And today, I'm going to be giving you all my opinion on this popular conversation that's been going on in the blogs this week, where our sister Iyanla Van Zant asked our sister Ebony K. Williams if she would date a bus driver. And she gave her response, which I thought was interesting. So sit back. Let's wait for everybody to come into the room, and we'll get started. And I'll tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from on this. All right? Peace and blessings. Be right back.
Our prisons, the largest prison system in the world, are filled with those who are the victims of poverty. The women who are disenfranchised, young teenage mothers, are victims of poverty. Poverty is knocking at our door all day long. It sits in the mirror for us to look in every morning. When we look at what's going on with the schools in this country, we build more prisons than we build schools. Poverty is in our face all day long. Why is everybody behaving all of a sudden like this is some great revelation? We are angry, we're upset, we look around for some comfort, and we don't find any. Well, we have to look to ourselves, because I think the last frontier of truth and hope in this country are the people themselves.
alaikum. Once again, I'm Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Welcome to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks. For those who are new to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, this is something that started, way back, probably around college. Not the actual podcast on the Coffee Talks, but just on how I love early morning coffee or tea. Today I'm drinking some butter pecan decaf tea. Let me know in the chat what you're drinking. And so I just like to get up early in the morning, and if there's people around me or at the house, we're talking and just sharing information about life, love, and business. And so that's where this came from. So very soon we're going to be doing some morning garden talks, which I'm very excited to share with you, and where I'll be inviting some of you over to talk about some powerful topics in the garden. But today we're going to talk about the I guess it's a controversy or the discussion that was sparked between Iyanla Vanzant and Ebony K. Williams in a conversation about femininity, where Iyanla asked Ebony K. Williams, "Would you date a bus driver?" And she gave her response. And when I looked at that response in the overall context of things, I kind of could see her mindset. But when she doubled down is when I was like, uh-oh, sister. Now we're getting a little classist and a little wonky. And so I want to talk about that today. And before, I had to give myself a few notes here so that I won't go off the rail. But before we talk about it, and I always try to make sure that I share with you all that when I talk about something, I'm coming from my experience, right? You know, one of my mottos is that I've been through a lot, so you don't have to go through it. I also say, you all know I say old business models no longer work, just kind of all those little mantras, things that I say. I also say that I bought and paid for this experience, so you don't have to. Okay. I bought and paid for it with my blood, sweat, and tears, so you don't have to. So it's just, I want you to have perspective on where I'm coming from. Yeah, Brother Lamont said yes, troubling. So, and most people don't give you this, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a little conversation or a little disclaimer is a better word before they begin to talk about something. I am someone who absolutely loves and adores Black men. I made a shocking statement in a meeting. We were in a production meeting. And I've said this before with other people, so it wasn't just in that meeting, where I said, I don't disrespect Black men. I don't believe in disrespecting Black men. I just want you to have perspective so that you understand where I'm coming from when I talk about this. And I've said this to people, and people have said, what do you mean you don't believe in disrespecting Black men? That was like a huge thing. And I said, I have had so many powerful and amazing Black men in my life who have made such a huge difference in my life. I just don't believe in disrespecting them. One, because there's so much disrespect out there about Black men already. I'm not going to add to that momentum. So if I'm in a situation where a Black man's behavior and his vibration is so off, I just pull back or go away. Now, if I got to get with a person, or I ain't got no problem doing that. Most of y'all know me. I can fight when it's time. My mother taught me how to fight and how to be a good fighter at a very early age. So if I need to fight, and if you bring it up out of me, that's man or woman, then it's on. I'm not one who walks around with a stick in my hand. So That's the perspective I come from. I am intentional about my divine femininity, which is something we'll talk about. Being intentional about it's like being intentional about buying black. Why do you have to be intentional? Because we live in a world where there's artificial intelligence all around us, and it's easy to morph off into something else. We want to talk about that today as well. I exude so much love for Black men that 68% of the people who watch my podcast, this is not according to me, this is according to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, of the people who watch my podcast, of the people who follow me, are Black men. So I'm a big proponent of brothers, and I'm all about supporting them. I just think they're just beautiful specimen. And I'm not, let me also say this, because I have to put this is out here in our universe. I'm not a woman that has other options or other choices when it comes to dating and being married. So being married to a woman is not an option. That's a non-negotiable. Being married to a white person or someone from another culture, for me, is not an option. So I got to bet on Tyrone or Abdul or whatever his name is. Yeah, I'm being silly, but so I don't have options. I have a lot of options within that spectrum of Black men, because Black men are global and they're all around the world. But I'm not looking at it like I have other options. So I have to say that, because a lot of times when women have these conversations, they're having that conversation and they're justifying why they're going another direction or why they have gone another direction. A lot of people have that conversation because they're operating from the artificial intelligence of the white man who enslaved us and told us how to think. We're going to talk about that. Before we get started, I want to play a clip. It's only 5 minutes. It's from our beloved sister, Ava Muhammad, where she talks about the Black woman and our relationship to God. So this is also the perspective that I come from. And I'm giving all these disclaimers because I don't want you to come out here thinking you're going to hear me from another perspective. I believe in my divine femininity as it relates to the divine God. And all these are labels and stuff that we put on, but I'm just a being, a spiritual and soulful being that is trillions of years old, whose essence, the evolution of my essence, I'm in connection and contact with all the time. And so I'm always connecting with my relationship to God and the evolution of our relationship. And the last part I'll say before I play Sister Ava is that I'm really big on being in a receptive mode. Okay, that's a big part of being feminine, is learning to be in the receptive mode. Now, you can be assertive, you can be a planner, you can be a developer, you can be all these things. People have labeled those things, but I'm in a receptive mode. And so if you know me, when I'm talking or interpreting anything spiritual, I don't inject myself. Like literally, the spirit has to tell me, no, this is you. This is where you are. I'm a preservationist, so I've learned not to tell lies about history. I've learned not to inject myself and make it look like what I want it to look like. So I wanted to give, those are my disclaimers. All right. So welcome to you all in the chat really quickly. Welcome. This is the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talk. Before we bring on our beloved sister Ava, this is Brother Lamont. Welcome. Wa alaikum salam and good morning. Sister Cynthia, assalamu alaikum. Oh, we got sisters in the chat today, huh? Virtuous 62, assalamu alaikum. I know that's a sister. Sister Sandra D, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Sister Zakia, assalamu alaikum, sis. We got Brother Carlos, peace and love from Detroit. Peace and love back at you from Chicago. Sister Alicia, wa alaikum salam. So we got some sisters this morning. Wa alaikum salam. Okay. All right. So gave y'all shout outs. Let's check out Sister Ava. Y'all know where I'm coming from. So those of you who don't know me, you don't listen and think that I'm coming from some other way, you could turn it off right now if you don't really want to hear this perspective. I've kind of already given you my perspective. So here we go. Let's listen to our sister, Ava.
You don't know the universe because you don't know God, because you don't know yourself. Look at the sperm. There is intelligence in the sperm. It knows exactly what it wants to do. It goes straight for the egg. That is intelligence.
Yes.
The sperm does not have a brain, but it has a head and a tail. When the sperm makes contact, it's the first cell of life. That cell starts looking for a firm resting place. Then it builds a clot. There is intelligence in the clot. Then the cells produce brain. Without a head, you don't need arms. The brain is the first thing formed. The thing that is going to direct the arms has to be first. It is the head that calls the arms and feet into existence. This is why the white man works to destroy your leaders. Without a head, you cannot call a body into existence. This is why you are always without organization. You never have leadership. Your leadership comes up, and when they spot it as good leadership, they wipe it out. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that God had to develop brain in order to think through darkness. It took pain and eons of time for God to build himself up in the darkness. He was the light of himself and had light in himself.
Come on, sister.
Since the basis of his life is electricity, he had light in himself for his own brain, from his own brain. He envisioned the sun and then called it into existence. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, Allah formed himself not from a mother, but out of the dark womb of space. Space and the darkness of it became his womb. And he came out of that darkness. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, before there was sun, there was a woman. Allah came out of the womb of darkness with a womb within himself. Every man has a woman in him. If you notice, the male has X and Y chromosome, which has male and female part. The female has X chromosome. As Allah came out of that womb, the Holy Quran calls it triple darkness. He had a womb within himself. He studied himself, and from himself, he fashioned woman. She is his first act of creation. The woman is made after the womb, out of which God created himself, and in the woman is the secret of God. The universe, all praise is due to Allah. All of this is from Minister Farrakhan, just a few paragraphs. Now here is where we drop the bomb on Stephen Hawking.
Wow. Wow, 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 and wow. I'm drinking hot coffee and I just got chills when she explained that. And I wanted it to be a sister who explained it because oftentimes, not oftentimes, but many times now, because of how men are stylized in the pop culture, when a man comes out and says something, a lot of times we automatically reject it because we've got all kind of things that have happened to us and all kind of engrams and reasons why we're challenged by Black men and we can't see them as a god. So I wanted it to be a sister who was explaining that to you, because and the way she does it is just so beautifully, because that's the perspective from which I'm going to come at this. And before I move into my perspective, I'm going to bring in and I want to play another 5-minute clip of Sister Ebony summarizing what she says. And in there, she has the clip where she responded to Sister Iyanla, and then her response as to why she answered the way she did. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about. But type in the chat, be active with me. Let me know what you're thinking, what you thought of Sister Ava's wonderful response as she explained. Just, man, when I was listening to her talking about women being stylized after the womb that God used to create himself, it brings me to that vortex of feelings and emotions that I talked about when we first came on the air here, where I try to be very conscious of how and why I was created. And I'm real clear that when a Black man gets with a God, a Black woman who is a God and understands who she is, and when a Black woman gets with a God, a Black man who understands who he is, that the evolution and the elevation and the revelation that they experience together is nothing short of magic. So I'm not going to define myself or my brother by the way the white man describes him. We're going to talk about that, but I just want to put that out there. His white man says you're a lawyer, doctor, accountant, bus driver. They put those tags on us. Did y'all know that? When this started back in slavery, I don't know if y'all know this, but when people were being traded as and seen as commodities, that's yesterday and today, when they would go and get the slaves from different parts of the African continent, they began to become so sophisticated in the slave trade that they went from just snatching people up and putting chains on them and dragging them over here and trying to break them to deciding that they're going to categorize us based on what they virtually found us doing on the continent. So if the tribe that you're from were rice farmers, then you went in the cell that said rice farmers. I seen this in Benin myself. If you were purchased to be a breeder, they put that up there. If you were purchased because your family were herders. They herded animals. They put that up there, and that's the cell you went into. And so in order that the traders could tell the buyers what they were purchasing, they had to sort of give your bloodline like they do with horses. But instead of even humanizing us enough to talk about our bloodline, they didn't say this is Yoruba, this is Igbo, this is Kru, this is Fulani. They didn't do that. They didn't give us that much respect. They said herder, farmer, childbearer. They gave us categories so that when you came and paid your money, you knew what you were buying. When we evolved that all the way down to the Industrial Revolution, in the Industrial Revolution, you just showed up and you got a job. There were factories, and the factory had a system, and you could get trained on the job. And so you came to work and you fell into a process. At a certain point, nobody cared who you were. Nobody cared where you came from. As long as you can work that machine and do it the way we told you to do it, then it is what it is. And then as we move through the Industrial Revolution into an era where people wanted to be seen. See, there were complaints that people couldn't get jobs in the factory. And so once they started letting especially Black people to work in these fields, then white people had to be able to say, well, what do we do to separate ourselves from them? Because this machinery doesn't separate. The machinery just says, sit your butt down and press the button or pull this down. But we got to have a way to separate ourselves, to elevate ourselves so that we can be the predator. So what the white man says was, well, okay, I'm the manager. You're the worker. If you do a good job, you can be a supervisor. Then they start breaking it down even more. What did you go to school for? Oh, you're an accountant. So when we go to school, we're trained to come out of school and put our resume together based on accounting, based on marketing, based on whatever it is that we're selling ourselves for out in the open market, so that the buyer and the employers will know what they're buying. And they say, I need to buy an accountant. So they're not going to go to somebody's resume that says mechanical engineer if they're trying to purchase an accountant. So we do this because we want to allow the market. It's an efficient way of creating intelligence in the market so that the market knows what they're purchasing, what they're getting for their money. So when they pay you $80,000 a year to be a marketing specialist, that's what they want. They put a job description out there, they match it up with resumes, and they pick you. So you, even though you're way more than that, you're the second self of God, you're the descendants of God, you're all of these things, even though that's not the totality of who you are, that then becomes how we describe ourselves. Oh, I'm a mechanic. You go to a party and people say, oh, how are you? People go, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm a blah, blah, blah. I've always rejected that because I'm one of those kind of persons. I'm so blessed with the brilliance of Allah that he put so much in me. There is countless number of things that I can do and that I can do well. And so as I began to evolve in my career, I started taking off those labels. And then in my maturity, I stopped looking at other people the way the slave master taught us to by saying, oh, he's a lawyer, he's a bus driver, he's a mechanic. It's not about that. It's about your consciousness. So I didn't mean to do that, but let's go into, I'm going to play this 5-minute clip. Make sure, yes, thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let me play this clip of our sister so you all get an idea of what happened, especially if you didn't hear it, but it can be fresh here. So it's only 5 minutes, I think. So here we go.
Today's sidebar starts with a note of gratitude. I want to thank the culture for making my interview with Dr. Ayanla Van Zant one of the most popular and actively engaged content offerings the Griot has produced. So before I tell you my thoughts, let's replay the clip that had some of y'all deep into your feelings. I do want you to speak, Ayanla, to how women need to position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date?
If he owns the bus, if he owns it, if he owns the bus.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Now let's address the response to the interview and what some of y'all are calling a backlash. So let me be clear. First, I am a professional disruptor. So backlash is my business. And I will always take it on the chin for the sake of advancing the work, conversation, or movement. So know that I am completely unfazed by the onslaught of nasty comments, wishing me a sad, lonely, bitter existence until my untimely death. Now, that is some weird energy to be wishing onto a Black woman, especially one who has dedicated her life to the liberation of Black folk. But, whatever. I guess go off. See, I wanted to talk about how do we close the gap between Black women who do show up in a so-called masculine posture, those of us that are providing and building and protecting due to circumstances that we might feel make us feel that if we don't do it for ourselves, we will have to go without the resources and protections we need to feel safe in this world. But Dr. Ayanla went in a different direction. She asked me a personal question. And y'all know I have been extremely transparent about the fact that my life choices and my chosen lifestyle are far outside of the norm. So when I said that I would date the bus owner, a lot of y'all heard something different. Some of you heard the following. Bus drivers are whack. Bus drivers are broke. Oh, and I'm too good for a bus driver. The only thing is, y'all made that part up. See, I said what I said. But then some of y'all started talking about salaries and hourly wages, pensions and benefits. And that's wild because I was never talking about money at all. I was talking about Black ownership, but some of y'all made it about money. I'm talking about ownership, Black enterprise and entrepreneurship, because really I am talking about Black liberation. And if you read my book, you'll understand why. So I'm standing 10 toes down on that position, and I don't really care if you're hurt or offended by it. And since some of y'all are already big mad, let me go ahead and make you incensed. So out of the 50,000 plus comments posted on social, I only saw a handful that even considered the possibility of a bus owner being a more aspirational position and recognizing that I am actually speaking and pouring into the ascension of Black men when I said what I said. But see, no, some of y'all were too busy naming and shaming me personally and Black women in general as undesirable, gold diggers, and much worse. Now, I suspect that some of y'all are the same men that were bringing home C's and D's on your report cards, only to then be coddled by parents that said, well, that's okay, as long as you're doing your best. Well, listen, I love and believe in the excellence of Black men. So no, my dear, C's and D's or any other form of mediocrity is not okay. No, I will not create a soft place for you or anybody that I love to fall comfortably into the bigotry of low expectations. So I'm going to say one more time, there's absolutely nothing wrong with driving a bus. My mother Gloria drove one for years. But could it be that Black America has been sold a narrative of average, regular, and typical being good enough for us? Well, see, that's called white supremacy. And in this case, it takes the form of conditioning Black Americans to happily accept being a permanent American underclass. But see, because I know the truth about Black folk in America, no, average is not and will never be good enough for me. And the gag is, I don't think it's good enough for you either.
All right. All right, y'all. Let's deal with this. So shout out to Sister Ebony K. Williams for being courageous enough to bring this subject up, to go on the Breakfast Club, to explain what she meant. And shout out to her for the things that she said that were true. Shout out to her for pushing for and supporting what she calls excellence, which is a term that's now in the lexicon, Black excellence. And just like everything else, words take on different meaning. We have to be careful that in using the word excellence, that we are not being subjected or subjecting the object of that excellence to, obviously, to our opinion. What does that mean? Does it mean being our very best at every single time? What does it really mean? Because it can be considered classist. And I thought that there were elements of classism in her conversation, but I'm gonna say this, and this is an interesting. Black women, we are generally more classist than Black men. We all got our groups of sisters. We got one ratchet sister in the group, but you don't really, you find us more dividing ourselves based on certain definitions of Black excellence. Whereas men can be a little bit different. They hang out and play ball, and people are from different walks of life. That's just an interesting observation. But let's be careful not to be classist when we talk about Black excellence. And let's be careful about judging people based on the occupation that they have to have. You have to look at people and understand their consciousness. And this is why you have to be in receiving mode, and you got to be a God yourself. So you have to have standards. See, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us as Black women certain standards and a way in which to conduct ourselves and see one another and how and what to expect. So we have a courtship process. We have a marriage process. We have self-improvement, which is the basis for economic development. But when you're out here and your study guides are the artificial intelligence that is dropped into pop culture, it becomes easy to be confused. Sister said at the beginning of the statement that her life, she qualified it. She said her life and her lifestyle might be different. So understand that. Understand that there's somebody for everyone. And let's stop having this slave mentality where we think we all gotta be the same. Because we don't all have to be the same. But what I don't think we should be doing is hurting one another on platforms where we should be being much more careful about our language. See, Allah gave me a platform a long time ago. Sometimes the platform's been larger, sometimes it's been smaller, but He's always given me a platform. And I'm always very careful to make sure that what I sow into that platform will be fruitful to me. You don't want to get a chance and get an opportunity to be in front of millions of people, get out here and act a fool and start hurting people, and then you will look up, trust me, and what will follow from that will be all kind of bad energy, because that's the vibration that you put out there in the universe. And you'll have to work even harder to overpower the vibration that you now have coming from millions of people about you. So it's challenging. So we have to be very careful about how we speak on one another in public, how we handle one another, and we should be very intentional. Sister Iyanla Van Zandt went on to Sister Ebony K. Williams' podcast subsequent to an interview that Sister Iyanla did on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God and DJ Envy. And Iyanla said that women, most women now, are just men in skirts. And so a lot of people took offense to that. I think Sister Ebony was one of them. So she invited Sister Iyanla to her podcast to talk about femininity. And Sister Iyanla went through what she believed was femininity and defined and had definitions, and said she was going to be teaching a master class on femininity, And then they were having this discussion, and Ebony was very open to being corrected and said she wants to understand because she came from a single family, and she didn't really have any examples of responsible, respectful, and protective Black men in her life. And so that's another thing for us to consider, and why we have to learn and study, as Sister Ava said at the beginning, the origin of the woman and how she was created and who she is. Because there's a lot of us out here that are not like me. When I say that I have such a blessed life, not only because Allah has poured himself into me in so many different ways that I would be stupid to reduce myself down to one word: accountant, marketer. I would be disrespecting God if I did that, because he gave me so much more and continues to pour into me. I'm blessed in being able to produce a lot. Why? Because he gives me the ability to produce in so many different ways. And so my life is all about creation and production. And in that act of creating and producing, I get a chance to be in my femininity. But I realized that I was groomed that way. I was brought up around protective Black men. Plus, they knew my mother would kill them if they was anything other than protective, because she didn't play. She still don't. But I was brought up in that environment. I was blessed as a young girl to have a strong Black man that I saw providing. I was able to watch my parents being married, and I was able to watch them produce and develop. I was able to watch them be an attraction power for other people and other cultures and other people in our community, not other cultures, but I was able to watch them. And so that changes you as a little girl. So I grew up seeing married people with jobs, married people evolving and growing, buying houses, buying cars, educating their children. So I get that the perspective of our sister may be different, because she said that she didn't have a lot of beautiful Black men as examples in her life. I am so blessed that as I started my sojourn as an adult woman, I ran across a lot of beautiful Black men who stepped in and helped me and supported me when I didn't know that I even needed that support. I'm going to give you a few examples because this is just a few. So I talked to you about my father. And I'm saying this to you because I'm settling on the best part. Every Black man that I've met has not been beautiful. I kissed a few frogs. Every Black man that I've met has not been in his divine purpose. Every Black man that I've met has not been at a level that I believe he's at his potential. But I have so much beauty to focus on. Let me start with when I first graduated from college. And I was in a position where I was about to start into public accounting, but they were kind of tossing me around a little bit about where I was going to work, if it was going to be Chicago, if I had to go to Indianapolis. And I went through a period where I hadn't heard from them. And I was in Indianapolis and I was working. I had a small little volunteer thing that I was doing through this program I was in called Center for Leadership Development, Dr. Henry Bundles. And he was teaching us, he had this program where he was teaching Black young graduates how to conduct themselves on boards and teaching us Robert's Rules of Order and teaching us how to be leaders. So it was a leadership program. And so he would dispatch us out to go help different organizations, and we had to use these leadership skills. So I ended up as I think I might have been the vice president of the National Association of Black Accountants. And then I was at the Indiana Black Expo, and I was helping with accounting and bookkeeping there. And what I was going through with the public accounting firm, you know, I was vocal about it, right? Closed mouth don't get fed. So I was telling them what I was going through. And Reverend Charles Williams, may he rest in peace, a Black man, saw this young 21, 22-year-old sister complain about this big company. He called up his homeboy, who was Bill Mays, may he rest in peace, who is the first Black man. He was a multimillionaire, but the first Black man to own a chemical distribution company in the United States. It just so happened that the accounting firm that I was trying to work at was soliciting his business. Bill Mays, a Black man, said to that company, if you all don't hire her, you don't get my business. And I'm going to let the EEOC and everybody know that not only do you not have Black clients, but you ain't got no Black accountants working up in there. And they called me right away. Black men. Okay. When I came into the Nation of Islam, I met Brother Yusuf Muhammad, may Allah bless him and be pleased with him, who took it upon himself, along with his wife and family, but he was really adamant about teaching me Islam, a Black man. And then when I got ready, even before I got my ex, and I was thinking about, not even really thinking about coming into the nation, but just there at a lecture, 2 Black men were introduced to me by the sister who invited me, Sister Lisa R., who invited me out. She introduced me to 2 Black men, Brother Wazir Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, who was the national accountant of the Nation of Islam, and Brother Kamal Muhammad, who at that time was the national secretary. The 2 of them, Black men, started working with me, groomed me, got me to Chicago, and I met the greatest Black man that I'd ever seen and laid eyes on. I heard him at a lecture, but I got an opportunity because of these Black men to be in the face of the greatest Black man that I'd ever seen in my life. And that's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that great man has been my father ever since, to this day. So, and I got a lot of, you can't tell me nothing about the greatness of Black men. And if you really knew in depth, you would understand why I love them from the core. And that I'm not going to adopt a white man's definition of what a man is when he already don't even know what a woman is. They have already told us as biological women with a womb that we ain't women no more. So how you gonna let that person who don't know a man or a woman tell you what a woman is and what you should be? It's artificial intelligence. It's designed to confuse us because most of us don't know the truth. We don't know this word that Sister Ava was speaking about from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We don't have a standard of conducting ourselves, and we're totally relying on the artificial intelligence of the white man to tell us who and what we are. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came and started teaching us, he said, accept your own and be yourself. He told us who we are. He told us who God is. He told us who the devil is so that we didn't have to continue to nurse on this artificial intelligence that is designed to make us slaves. And now there's so much artificial intelligence out here. People don't know what to wear. Before they get ready to go somewhere, they got to go figure out what to wear. We don't know what to say. We don't know who we are. We don't even know how to properly evaluate a man or a woman to determine whether or not they're good for us, even in a relationship. So what do? Let me see what they do for a living. Let me see how much money they got, how much stuff they can buy me. So if he a bus driver, I ain't messing with that. That's what we're saying. But let me tell you something. Never judge somebody from where they are right now. When I first met my business partner in Washington, D.C., a Black man, and before we came together and he allowed me to be a part of his vision, and I was the chief builder and primary designer of a hospital. That's something can't nobody take away from me. You can go pull the permit records. I'm on there. But he allowed me in his circle as a consultant. He allowed me to scrub into the cases so that I could see how he did things, so that I could make suggestions on how to design the hospital and the surgery centers and the clinics so that it would be of best service to him and other surgeons. He allowed me into his brain, so much so that I snatched so much medical and vascular and cardiovascular knowledge from him that when I would go to the hospital, they would debate and say, is she a medical doctor or not? Some people went so far, including the CEO of the hospital, that said she's lying. She's really a doctor. And then a whole society of doctors started calling me doctors and gave me an honorary doctorate degree because a Black man saw me and saw my gifts. And I could go on. So I'm saying you don't judge any, and the reason why, that's why I was going with that. Reason why you don't judge a person by what they do was because at the time, he wasn't making millions of dollars. I was making $300 and some thousand a year as a consultant net. He couldn't pay me that, but I could have judged him. But I saw the soul. I saw the opportunity. I saw what I knew I could produce. And I knew that if I had a chance to be in production mode, and I could give birth to this baby that was up inside of me, that it would be a multi-million-dollar legacy building opportunity. That's the way I saw that. So I couldn't judge him because I couldn't go to him and say, well, I'm grossing 600 and some thousand without the people that I have to pay. So I'm bringing home close to 400. And if you can't pay me that, then I'm not going into business with you. I could have got all like that, but I didn't. I looked at the opportunity. I looked at him. I looked at the kind of person that he was. I didn't overjudge his faults. I said, is there baggage there? Is there things that could be different and could be better? But the question is, can I carry that bag? And am I okay? Because I'm coming with baggage too. So I'm saying that to say that this whole concept where she says she was trying to close the wealth gap. You can't close the wealth gap with your mouth, and you can't close the wealth gap by dogging people who do what you consider average jobs. Let the buses not run and see what happens. Let the garbage man not work and see what, those are not average jobs and average people. We don't judge and look down on one another based on that person's relationship with the white man, because that's all that is. You can have somebody that's brilliant, and guess what? And see, this is all artificial intelligence, because we know better than this. We know that as Black people, we are at war. We know that when we get in a relationship, there are going to be places that the white man will let the Black woman go that the Black man can't go, and vice versa. We understand that. Maybe that brother who's driving the bus, who's a brilliant author, if he was able to get with you and have some comfort in his life, his central nervous system could relax, and the cells in his body can go towards his brain, and he'll have a little space where maybe he can write that best-selling book. Don't judge people. I get this all the time from people, where people judge somebody based on what money they make. It's now men are doing it. Shoot, she can't give me no bread, she can't help me out, then I ain't trying to be with her. That's dumb. That's dumb. Because you don't know where that person's going to be tomorrow. You're not in the blessing business. God is. You ever heard of what they call an overnight success? God is capable of that miracle. But more than that, if a person is producing and creating and going out here and working hard to generate revenue for themselves, how dare you judge them based on whether or not they get ready to give that hard-earned exchange for their labor to you? See, when you're in your right space as a man and a woman, and if a man is not trying to be a pimp and he's not trying to use you, and he sees you in your divine femininity, he rushes to that because he knows that just connecting, just like the egg and the sperm, just by connecting to that divine femininity, he's going to be productive. And so a spiritual man understands that. He's the sperm. There's intelligence in the sperm. We're the egg, and there's intelligence in the egg. And when the sperm and the egg get together in the womb, so in the proper environment, without interference from the white man who tells us, well, you can't be good because you short and you're a little too chunky and you too light skinned and you too old and you too dark. You don't know what God has planned for you. That person you met that's a bus driver today, or who might be driving a garbage truck today, you don't know what that man is going to be tomorrow. And you don't know what that man got at home, where he just doing this to supplement his income. where he may be just doing this to get some benefits. He might be doing this because he's bored. Other side of the coin is he could be doing it because his consciousness is that of a bus driver. So I think that's what she was trying to say when she was saying she wouldn't date him unless he owned the bus. But you got to be careful how you put that kind of classist statement out here into the universe. And when we have these platforms, we have to be mindful of how we represent ourselves and represent our people. A lot of people say, I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to be a leader. Well, so what? You are. If you don't want to be a leader, you don't want to be out there as an example, then get off of television, stop playing basketball, stop playing football, stop going to work every day, because everybody is an example for somebody who is looking at them. So and this last thing I just want to say, just like we have to be intentional about buying Black, we have to be intentional about changing our spending patterns, about supporting other Black people. Just like we have to be intentional about all of that, we have to be intentional about loving one another. We have to be intentional about supporting one another. I'm so intentional about supporting and uplifting Black men and settling on the best part with the Black men that I've worked with and been a part of my life, that I don't disrespect Black men. So if you got a real problem and you come to me, I'm going to move around. Now, I know how to protect myself and back you up off of me, but I'm not going to walk around just being disrespectful to somebody just because they're a Black man. I'm not going to be disrespectful to them because they're a Black man, because they are a reflection of Almighty God, Allah. I honor that and I respect that. And I hope that they would honor and respect the reflection and the love for God that I have in me, that will spill over into my love for them. So let me say this last thing. I almost forgot this. With how much time? Okay, I've been going over a lot lately, but last thing to say, people, Black people, let me talk to y'all for a minute. We have this sexual subculture in our community, and we need to get it together. And nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about how many Black young girls are molested. Nobody talks about at all how many young Black boys are molested. Nobody talks about how often Black women are being pimped. Nobody talks about how often Black men are abused and used by gold-digging women and vice versa. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about how the white man is now telling us as Black women, the less clothes you wear, the more money I'm going to give you. When you out here popping it and doing what you got to do, I'm going to put money in your pocket. Nobody has talked about how a lot of our young Black girls think that the strip pole is a career path. Nobody talks about how many people are raped and taken advantage of sexually. We got to do better. We got to get our behavior together. We got to talk about this, because see, we out here violating in our marriages, and some of us like, I like threesomes and I like this and I like that. Well, all the lines now are all blurred. And a lot of us don't know what we are. This artificial intelligence has crept into our lives and taken over our lives. They got us scared of AI in the future. Well, damn it, I'm saying AI is here now. And this artificial intelligence is telling us what to do, telling us it's okay to be a freak, telling us it's okay to take advantage of one another sexually. That's what the artificial intelligence is doing. And that artificial intelligence is systemically designed using data that they're collecting to take us further and further and further away from our original selves. And the further and further we get away from our original selves, the less we can recognize one another, and the even more reason why we have to rely on artificial intelligence in order to make our decisions. What's the artificial intelligence? Well, I'm going to judge this brother based on what he does for a living. That's artificial intelligence. You don't know who he is. You don't know who that person is. So we got to be careful with this classism that's being put out here. So anyway, this conversation could go on for 3-4 hours. I see y'all in the chat. Let's see what y'all saying before we go. Let's see. People are really talking about Sister Ava. So beautiful. Just awesome. Amazing. Amazing. Walaikum salam, Sister Roxanne. Sister Alicia. Thank you, sis. Brother Lamont said, the generalizations from me, so errant. I agree. You see Sister Marva throwing up the black power fist. Sister Cynthia saying all praise is due to Allah. She's telling me. All right, y'all. So they cut us off for a second. So I think we might have been talking too much good stuff. So what we going to do with that? We're going to end on that note. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to repost the link so y'all can listen to this. I know how these folks get a little upset when you're telling the truth around here. But I thank you all for paying attention and for listening. All of you all who are jumping out here, thank you, and thank you. That was a word today, right? I hope we got something out of it. Yeah, let's end it there. All right. Peace and blessings. I'm also going to post this up on Roku. Oh, one last thing. When you purchase your commemorative Elijah coin, you're going to get one of these leather-bound journals. That's for the next 20 of you all. A leather-bound journal for you to start documenting your history, your truth, your experience. You can put photos in here. But the next 20 people that purchase a commemorative Elijah coin get this beautiful, invaluable leather-bound journal that you can start documenting your truth. It's got a little Sajdah House logo embossment on it. So go out there, make a support. If you are enjoying the show, Make a donation, $Mo today. And we're going to keep pushing with the truth. All right. Peace and blessings, family. I love y'all. And don't forget, I'm going to put this up. We'll send it off. We'll get it up on Roku as well. So you guys can look at that if you're watching us on Roku TV. All right. Peace and blessings. Greetings, conscious entrepreneurs. Add the Mind of an Entrepreneur show to your Roku TV lineup and catch up on past episodes of all your favorite Mo Today shows.